Today is Monday, October 16th. We'll explain some new developments out of Gaza as Israel turns back on the water supply and Egypt opens the border, and America's role in it all. Also, who won the first big political race ahead of the 2024 elections that's leading to a big change in the Deep South? Plus, what's next for a nationwide pharmacy chain that just filed for bankruptcy? Which state just upped the minimum wage for all healthcare workers? And how Disney is celebrating its 100th birthday today. Those stories and more news to know next. Welcome to The Newsworthy. All the day's news in around 10 minutes. Fast, fair, fun, and on the go. I'm Erica Mandy. Thanks so much for being here. You ready? Let's do this. Any moment now, Israeli troops are expected to launch an invasion in northern Gaza. Over the weekend, the Israeli military said it was preparing an attack from the air, sea, and land. And that it's in response to Hamas fighters carrying out the worst attack on civilians in Israel's history. But the thing is, Hamas is based in Gaza, which is also home to more than 2 million people, many of whom have been sent into a panic. As United Nations Secretary General put it, quote, "We are on the verge of the abyss in the Middle East." Remember, Israel urged people in Gaza to evacuate south, and more than 500,000 have now done so. But shelters in South Gaza are already full, and there are shortages of crucial supplies. And some people who tried to evacuate say they were attacked anywhere they tried to go as Israeli airstrikes continue. The Palestinian people are expected to get a little bit of relief today, though. Starting this morning, they were supposed to be able to cross the border into Egypt. And Reuters reported Israel, Egypt, and the U.S. agreed upon a ceasefire while travelers crossed the border. But at least as we published this morning, the border crossing is still closed past the agreed-upon opening time. At the same time, humanitarian aid is supposed to start crossing into Gaza. Separately, yesterday, Israel renewed the water supply to southern Gaza, but many Palestinians say they're still without water since many water pipes have been damaged. Also, without electricity, water pumps to fill the tanks don't work. These are just some of the concerns that have brought out tens of thousands of people around the world, including in the U.S., to rally in support of the Palestinian people. Jewish communities in the U.S. and elsewhere have also been holding rallies in solidarity with Israel. And authorities are on high alert for anti-Semitic or Islamophobic sentiments. Already, there have been a couple of devastating attacks in the U.S. that police are connecting to the Israel-Hamas war. For example, a landlord in Illinois is accused of attacking his Muslim tenants, including a young boy, just for being Muslim. The U.S. Justice Department has opened a hate crime investigation. The war in the Middle East has hit home for so many people in the U.S., and the growing death toll includes more American citizens. The number of Americans killed when Hamas attacked Israel has gone up to 30, and there are others still being held hostage. So experts from the U.S. are now helping the Israeli government with hostage recovery efforts. The U.S. is involved in other ways, too. For example, the Pentagon ordered a second aircraft carrier strike group to the region over the weekend. To be clear, the warships aren't actually meant to join the fighting in Gaza. The Defense Department just says their being there is meant to send a message of deterrence to anyone else who might want to take advantage of the situation or strike Israel while its forces are focused on Gaza. Secretary of State Antony Blinken also hopes talks will help keep Israel's conflict with Hamas from spilling over to the other parts of the region. After his trip to Israel, Blinken went to Saudi Arabia, Qatar, Jordan, Bahrain, the United Arab Emirates, and Egypt. And he says everywhere he went, leaders were determined not to spark a wider war. Though Iran's foreign minister said the opposite, warning yesterday that, quote, "the hands of all parties in the region are on the trigger." And in fact, just this morning, Israelis who live near the Lebanese border were told to evacuate since there has been cross-border fire between Israel and the militia group Hezbollah that operates out of Lebanon. Though Hezbollah has said the strikes were a warning and don't mean it has decided to enter the war. Already, Blinken is expected back in Israel to talk about the way forward. By the way, a bipartisan group of American senators has also been in Israel, and they experienced exactly what the people there have been going through. Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer says he and his colleagues had to take shelter in a tight bunker to get away from rocket fire, and they all have expressed their support for Israel. It was the first big contest ahead of the 2024 elections, and Republicans were victorious. Louisiana's conservative Attorney General Jeff Landry won his state's race for governor over the weekend. And that's seen as a major victory for the GOP in a state that's been run by a Democratic governor for the last 8 years. In fact, Governor John Bel Edwards was the only Democratic governor in the Deep South. But Landry won by a lot. It likely helped that he got some big-name endorsements, like from former President Trump and Congressman Steve Scalise. He also had a pretty big fundraising advantage over the rest of the candidates. Speaking of fundraising, President Biden has so far raised more money for his re-election campaign than former President Trump or any of the other Republicans seeking the GOP nomination. And his campaign is spending it, already airing campaign ads in many battleground states. Still, the actual election is still more than a year away, so expect a lot more fundraising and a lot more advertising to come from all those running for office. More news is coming up, but first, a quick break for our sponsor. You've probably heard the headlines before where there's a big fight over a celebrity's estate after they pass away. And while we may not have as many assets as famous celebrities, we all, of course, want to help secure the future for our loved ones and keep the process straightforward for them as much as possible. Especially now that I have a child, my husband and I recently decided to complete our first will, and we were pleasantly surprised how simple it was with Trust and Will. Each will or trust is crafted to be state-specific and customized to your needs without having to spend thousands of dollars. I also appreciate bank-level encryption, and although we did not need to use it, Trust and Will also offers live customer support through phone, chat, and email. Trust and Will has earned an overall rating of excellent, with thousands of 5-star reviews on Trustpilot. No wonder hundreds of thousands of families and counting, including mine, have used their expertise. So gain peace of mind today with Trust and Will. Get 10% off plus free shipping of your estate plan documents by visiting trustandwill.com/newsworthy. That's 10% off and free shipping at trustandwill.com/newsworthy. Now back to the news. The White House is spending big money on what's often called the holy grail of climate technologies, clean hydrogen production. President Biden announced 7 new regional hydrogen hubs scattered all around the country. Together, they're now eligible for $7 billion in federal funding from the bipartisan infrastructure law. And Biden says there's a lot more investment coming from private companies, bringing the total to $50 billion. The hope with all of this is that the U.S. jumpstarts the production of clean hydrogen to one day be used as fuel instead of oil and gas in industries like shipping, steelmaking, and chemical production. President Biden says the new project will not only cut carbon dioxide pollution that contributes to climate change, but it will create hundreds of thousands of new blue-collar jobs in places that were once thriving coal mining and power plant towns. Still, there are some critics who say this is an especially tough time to be developing new hubs with high interest rates and inflation. Plus, there's still a lot of uncertainty about how big industry players will be able to access federal subsidies. Guidance is expected by the end of this year. The world is saying goodbye to a TV star who spent decades in front of the camera. Suzanne Summers died yesterday. She's best known for her roles in shows like Three's Company, She's the Sheriff, and Step by Step. Though Summers was also at one time a talk show host and an entrepreneur, built largely off the success of her famous partnership with Thigh Master. Summers was first diagnosed with breast cancer more than 23 years ago, and back in July, she said the cancer had returned. Today was supposed to be her 77th birthday, so her family was already gathered at her home when she died. Now her family says they will still celebrate her extraordinary life. One of America's largest pharmacy chains has filed for bankruptcy. Rite Aid filed for Chapter 11 yesterday and announced it's going to be closing even more stores. This doesn't exactly come as a surprise, though, since the chain has been weighed down by billions of dollars in debt, declining sales, and more than 1,000 lawsuits, claiming it filed illegal painkiller prescriptions. So now it's going to restructure. Rite Aid says it has secured $3.5 billion in financing and debt reduction agreements from lenders, so it can keep the company afloat even through bankruptcy. First it was Netflix, now it's Best Buy saying goodbye to DVDs. The consumer and electronics retailer announced it's going to be phasing out its DVD and Blu-ray sales by early next year, both in stores and online. The company says it's just looking to make more space and opportunities to bring customers newer tech to discover and explore. This wasn't exactly a surprise, since sales of DVDs and Blu-ray discs have been shrinking for years as the world has embraced streaming. Though if you're still a fan of DVDs, there are still plenty of places to buy them, including Walmart, Target, and Amazon. Today, Disney is celebrating its 100th anniversary. In celebration, Disney announced a collaboration with TikTok. So fans on the platform can watch Disney videos, create their own videos with Disney music and effects, play Disney trivia, and more. That launched today and will be live for the next 4 weeks. Also, in celebration of the centennial, ABC aired a short film last night called Once Upon a Studio. It features 543 characters from more than 85 Disney films and short films, with every living voice actor, along with some sound-alikes and a few voices from the archives. If you missed it, you can check it out on Hulu or Fubo. That's it for the main news, so now it's time for Money Monday, when we talk about one interesting money-related news story. But first, support for today's episode comes from AG1. I gave AG1 a try because, as a busy parent and business owner, I'm always on the lookout for things that are both good for me and are convenient. So I was really intrigued by AG1, and I actually reached out to them wanting to partner, and I've been really happy with my experience all around. I drink AG1 before I eat or drink anything else, and it makes me feel ready to take on the day. AG1 replaces a lot of other supplements, including a daily multivitamin, minerals, pre- and probiotics for gut health, adaptogens, and a greens blend, all in one scoop of powder mixed with water. And yes, I like some ice and a splash of lemon juice, and then I'm all set. I even love the little bottle AG1 sends with the powder because it's easy to take on the go if things are especially hectic or busy one morning. My toddler even knows I have it every morning and now refers to it as either mama's drink or green drink, which is pretty adorable. So if you're looking for a simpler, effective investment for your health, try AG1 and get 5 free AG1 travel packs and a free 1-year supply of vitamin D with your first purchase. Go to drinkag1.com/newsworthy. That's drinkag1.com/newsworthy. Check it out. Okay, now back to Money Monday. Nearly 500,000 healthcare workers in California can expect a raise soon. Governor Gavin Newsom signed a bill to raise the healthcare worker minimum wage to $25 an hour. This will impact everyone in the state who supports patients, even indirectly. For example, nursing assistants, technicians, maintenance workers, cleaners, groundskeepers, security guards, and so on. Unions who supported the bill say more pay is needed to deal with California's healthcare worker shortage and to improve patient care. But critics worried that small hospitals or clinics could collapse under mass wage increases or pass on the costs to patients. In response, lawmakers did tweak the bill so it now lets facilities phase in the raises starting next year. Of course, this comes on the heels of the largest healthcare worker strike in American history. It only lasted a few days, but unions threatened another longer walkout next month. Well, it now seems crisis averted. The industry giant Kaiser Permanente reached a tentative deal with unions over the weekend. Besides the $25 an hour minimum wage in California, this deal includes a $23 an hour minimum wage to the other states where Kaiser has facilities. And workers will see a 21% wage increase over 4 years. Now, union officials say they're hoping this agreement will set a higher standard for the healthcare industry nationwide. All right, thank you so much for listening today and every day. Of course, we'll be back with more news to know tomorrow. For now, have a great day.